Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is Dearest Mother and Dad. Love, Ruth, John, Mark, and Pamela. Ruth Smallshaw Ray's Letters to Her Parents. 1954, Part 89. 602 Huntmere Drive, Bay Village, Ohio, June 8th, 1954. Hi, folks. Here it is, 1:30 a.m. and still wide awake, so thought I might as well do something constructive and write to you instead of tossing and turning. 'Twas the same with Mark. When the book said I should be getting more rest, I start staying awake nights. Of course, my mind seems to get overactive, and I'm easily overstimulated anyway, and a combination of coffee and bridge really sets me off. We've been our usual busy little bees. We got Mark moved upstairs last Thursday and are really proud of his wonderful adjustment to a single bed in new quarters. He's really a peach of a boy. Saturday I took him around downtown until John was through work and got a few odds and ends bought. A man in step beside me asked if Mark were my eldest or youngest. I answered that he was the only one so far, and his comment was that, "You'd better get going. You've had a late start." So I guess I must either look old or, as John says, very unpregnant. His mom told John that I carried my babies better than anyone she'd ever seen. Nice. Saturday night we had a very nice 2 tables at a girl's that I met at bridge. John Hooby so made me feel better. He got men's high 2 weeks ago. We had a fine time. Sunday was a big day. The folks came over and we went to the May Art Show and then to Trinity Cathedral for John's confirmation. A large congregation and long service, and then John's dad took us all to dinner in the terrace room of the Statler Hotel. I had roast beef au jus. Wonderful. And expensive. Mark was a doll from 1 o'clock p.m. until 9 o'clock p.m., a long day and still clean in his white jacket. At the May show, John met a law buddy who said he'd never seen such a perfect child. Music to a parent's ears. He was even good in church. He piped out, "Radio, radio," when they used the speaker system for prayers, and "hot, hot," when he noticed the candles, and "Where's Daddy?" Tonight, when John called at 5 o'clock to say that my dress wasn't ready at the dry cleaners and I had to leave at 6 o'clock, I started pressing another outfit, saying, "Nuts, nuts," and Mark in sympathy chorusing, "Nuts, nuts, nuts." Very nice bridge banquet tonight, 4 tables, but I'm disgusted with my poor playing. Haven't won in weeks. We had fruit cocktail, watermelon balls, fresh cherries and strawberries and peaches, half a chicken each, vegetables, salad and rolls, coffee and strawberry sundaes, and after 12 hands of bridge, we went to the yacht club for a cocktail on the terrace. Very nice. Thursday is the inaugural ball and another dinner, and Saturday Oberlin reunion. Dinner and Sunday we're spending in Sandusky, and undoubtedly a good dinner, so I'll probably put on 10 pounds this week with 5 meals out. John painted Mark's sandbox tonight so we can get some sterilized sand for him. He just loves the sand pile and will play in the neighbors for an hour. He's such a loving little chap. I hope he enjoys the new baby. I think with him moved upstairs it will disturb his routine less. After 3 formula changes, Joan finally found one to stop the baby's diarrhea, but she's still under 6 pounds, lost 15 ounces, and now has colic, crying from 4 o'clock p.m. until 2 o'clock a.m. Ann Duff still has had nausea and sickness, so guess we've been lucky so far. I hate to think of hot days and nursing a wee one, but still hope I can. It's better than fixing formula. We thought of Pamela Ruth or Russell John tonight, but they probably won't sound so good in the morning. Mrs. Ray brought us some lovely yellow roses, and each time that I mention Grandma Ray, Mark goes to this table and says, "Fuff, fuff," for flowers. The phone rang the other day, and when I got to it, Mark had it off the hook saying, "Hello, hello." But I got cross at that, so now it's a "don't touch." He says a "don't touch" to the blinds, too. And one day in his high chair sat chanting, "Don't touch, bad boy, no, no, no," etc. So I felt guilty to think that that's all I'd been saying to him. It sure is wonderful to be parents, though. Mark gets more precious every day. He takes my face between his little hands and looks deep into my eyes. So sweet. John's mother says she's never seen a child give such a penetrating look. He'll probably end up as a car mechanic, though, as he fiddles with bolts and jar tops and anything that jiggles or comes apart. He weighs about the same as he did when we were in Regina, but is taller and not so chubby baby fat. He feeds himself real well, but what combinations! He likes peanut butter on everything, even on his meat sandwiches. The Rays will think I'm nuts when they look after him, but I keep thinking he'll get tired of peanut butter in time. I will try to unwind and get some night-night. Love, John, Ruth, and Mark. Editor's note: Ruth gave birth on June 19, 1954, to a girl which John and Ruth named Pamela Ruth Ray. 602 Huntmere Drive, Bay Village, Ohio, July 18, 1954. Dear folks, just a quick note while my family is sleeping to let you know that we're doing just fine. I just live for these weekends and the evenings when John is home with his helping hands. Last night, Dave and Carol drove over from Sandusky, and Pamela slept from the time they left at 10:30 until 5:30 a.m., which is the best yet. However, she'll probably revert to her 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock a.m. seance. Unfortunately, Mark awoke at 7 o'clock a.m. John got up with him and gave me an extra 3 hours sleep this morning, so now he's resting too. John had about 5 dizzy spells early this week. He blacked out. We didn't know if it was his heart, the heat, lack of sleep, or lack of food. The doctor said it could be any of them, so we're going to have him take it easier. The Rays were over last Saturday and brought my drapes for upstairs that she'd shortened and made ruffles for, also sleepy buys and a bumper for Pamela's crib, some banana bread and a quart of fresh raspberries, some roses and some socks for Mark, also some more toys for him, a little broom and a set of dishes. They think he should have a tricycle too, as he's always climbing onto other children's. He sure is getting big. Even our neighbors comment. He's as big as a 2.5-year-old a few doors down, who is a good-sized boy. Mark had a haircut yesterday and was very good. Said, "All gone," when each side was finished. He's talking a blue streak. John had a client in and was saying, "I see, yes, certainly," and Mark was repeating after him. Pamela is fine, starting to look like Mark did, but is much smaller, and her hands and limbs are long and more slender like mine. Had some cute washcloths from Mrs. Steele. An older lawyer friend gave her a white nylon dress and slip, as did John's grandmother. Aunt Helen and Fred sent a silver bell with the date and time of Pam's birth. One of my neighbors brought a cute yellow dress and plastic pants set. I'll write to Olive and Bud and ask about a christening. Which would you prefer, Norma or Celia? We had cards from Ethel and Pat. Did you get to see her 3 little girls? The baby can go out today, so may get John to take us for a ride. That murder case is big news here. Marilyn Shepard belonged to the same women's club as I do, and my neighbors knew them quite well. Love, John, Ruth, Mark, and Pamela. 602 Huntmere Drive, Bay Village, Ohio, August 11th, 1954. Dear Mother and Dad, hi. Just a quick note on my way to bed so you won't think that we've got lost completely. It just seems that there's always so much to do, and when there is a lull, it's time to sleep. So glad that you had a good trip and enjoyed hearing about it all. We'd like to hear more about the reunion and Pat's girls, also about Bud and Doris's proposed trip. I have a card here for Granddad's birthday, but wasn't sure of exactly when his birthday is. Then, too, I got very busy with Mark being sick. We'd all been to the doctor and had checkups. I'm fine and can have another baby whenever I feel like. I can handle it. 1956? Baby Pamela is perfect, a beautiful baby according to the doctor. She's now 11.5 pounds, and the doctor says I'm like a cow to be nursing her so well that I should be in the journals for doing so well. She says she uses me as an example to her other patients. Mark has grown 6 inches since Christmas. His tonsils are enlarged, and 2 days after we were at the doctor, he got very sick, high fever, and even got croupy. The doctor gave him a shot of penicillin, and by the end of the week he was okay. But a busy time. As soon as you have a baby, you get so many visitors too. John's folks and grandparents were up, Dale and her little girl, the Duffs with their 2 boys, Caroline and her boy, and several groups I mentioned earlier. Pamela seems to have changed so much. Her eyes look like they'll be small like mine. Wayne said, "Hi, Red Jr." to her, and John said, "Hi, F. Ruth Small Shell. Hi, Tootsie," to her, but she still has dark hair. She's not as pretty as Mark was, but she's awfully sweet and so good. Mark, now that he's well, is like a house on fire, active and mischievous, and so darn cute, but a handful. We sure have a merry time. His grandparents are getting him a trike. It will be good for when I have the baby out in the carriage, too. I've been back to church a couple of times, and John took Mark one Sunday. I've also been back to bridge twice, and they asked me to substitute next time, too. It's good to get out. I won first prize last time and sure got kidded. I thought you'd enjoy the tallies they gave me. We made it last night by special request. They thought it suited me. I really played poorly, though, but had fun. Thank you for Mark's t-shirt, bib, and picture. I'm sorry I mentioned that about getting things for Mark instead of Pamela, for it is more fun to buy things for a wee baby, and she didn't get as many gifts as Mark did as a baby. However, when I wrote that it seemed that poor Mark was getting the short end of it, so thanks. Must say good night again, so glad you had a good trip, and thanks for Mark's shirt. Love, John, Ruth, Mark, and Pamela. 602 Huntmere Drive, Bay Village, Ohio, September 9th, 1954. Dear Mother and Dad, thank you both for your letters. I'm presuming that you're home by now, Mom, and hope you had a good trip. I expect Bud and Doris will be home now, too, and I hope to get a letter off to them soon. With all the fall meetings starting, it seems funny to think of anyone on vacation. Summer has passed so quickly. It seems as though there's always so much going on here. It's wonderful, but it's difficult to get down to letter writing. Having a family is just the most wonderful thing in the world, and I'm all for having a couple more children soon. Pamela is a real little doll, good as gold, and Mark, according to Grandma Ray, is delightful. We just have a great time. It's even better than teaching school. Tonight Mark was rolling his eyes. "What's that?" he says. "Buzzsaw. Where did it go?" When the buzzsaw stops, "What's that?" Wind, he says. "Where did it go?" When it dies down. A complete monologue on just about everything. We had a wonderful Labor Day weekend, although we began it with much trepidation. We had 4 dozen diapers for the 3 days at Lakeside and came home with 5. Very good. I fed Pamela when we got there, and she slept from 5 o'clock p.m. Saturday until 8 o'clock a.m. Sunday, 15 hours, and was equally good all weekend. We got some wonderful swimming in, lovely waves. When I went in swimming, Mark said, "Goodbye, Mommy," But when John went in, he was very unhappy. Mark would pick up such big stones to throw in the water they'd fall backward over his shoulder when he'd heave them. They said it seemed hard to believe that we had 2 children and that it seemed to make us younger rather than older. There were 20 people there, and we had a wonderful time, several good poker games. I'd made 12 dozen cookies, a batch of shortbread, coconut, and peanut butter cookies, and an angel food cake. All 4 of us slept in one room, Mark on the floor. Very difficult the first night, so I slept on the floor. He tickled me. John's folks are coming for a picnic next Sunday, and we're having Pamela christened at the 11 o'clock a.m. service September 26th. I was at the church guild last evening. I joined a Bible study group too, but don't know if I can make it, as it meets Monday nights, and John bowls then, and it's hard to get babysitters. Pamela had a fever Tuesday, and I was worried, but it was hot, and she seemed better by nightfall. Mark got poison ivy all over his arms over the weekend, but I think we have it under control. Always something. John is going great guns getting money from corporations as prizes for his art show. His new twist is to send the pictures to hospitals for patients' rooms. A very worthy cause, no? Dale had another baby girl on Sunday, Rebecca Clare, 7 pounds 8 ounces. Dale had gained 40 pounds and had a spinal. Dan was with her throughout. She says she feels wonderful. Incidentally, I had an easier time with Pamela. I guess I gave you the wrong impression. The bad part was my headache, but I was actually better off for staying in bed in the hospital, for I felt so good since coming home. No blues and much more even-tempered than after Mark was born. I go to Dr. Taylor Saturday, and Pamela goes to Dr. Nitch. Mark can say Grandma and Grandpa now. He used to call them Pop Pop. They think he's pretty nice. He's saying a lot of sentences now. Hi, Toots, he says to Pamela, and come on, as he tries to take her away from me. He even said, come on, Red, once when John said it. One day I told him I couldn't do something until I took the clothes off the line. When I went out, the clothes and pins were all on the ground. He'd taken them off for me. He understands just about everything, and he's putting 4 and 5 words together at times. He's so affectionate, and as you predicted when he was little, he loves a game. Pamela is so calm and just smiles a little. Friday. I waited to mail this until we got our snaps back. I'm disappointed as they're not as cute as I'd hoped, and the camera is in for repairs now. Hope we can take more of Pamela at her christening for you. I must say goodnight as it's 10:30. I just finished folding clothes, doing the dishes, and making potato salad. Last night I made cookies, and the night before a peach upside-down cake for the girl across the back who's been sick. I will write soon. Good night. Love, John, Ruth, Mark, and Pamela. 602 Huntmere Drive, Bay Village, Ohio, September 13th, 1954. Dear Mother, we got your nice letter today and was glad to hear that your trip home was okay. It was certainly a sad one, though, and the girls had grown to depend on you. It's good that you could help them. Judging from their letters, they really appreciated it. I still think it's a shame that you hadn't lived out at the coast the last few years and had their companionship. Tonight, John started bowling. It's a much bigger job getting 2 to bed than 1, then clean up the clothes, a dirty diaper apiece, put away toys, do the dishes and ironing and mending to do. Sound familiar? John usually puts Mark to bed, and of course that's a big help. Last night his folks were here. They came over for a picnic in the afternoon. I think they got a big kick out of seeing the 2 of us putting our little ones away. I was feeding Pamela and John bathing Mark. Mark got out of the tub and ran all over the house in the nude. It probably reminded them of when they had John and Dick little. John is up for trustee of the Junior Chamber of Commerce tomorrow night. Probably when we have 4 to put to bed, he'll be out every night. I had to call Bible study and tell them I couldn't make it at all Monday nights. It's just too much. The folks brought Pamela a cute pink dress, pants, and socks. She's dark and looks well in pink. We had good reports from the doctors, and Pamela weighs 13 pounds 10 ounces, almost double her birth weight before 3 months, and by 6 months is average. She's smaller all over than Mark was, though. Dr. Taylor says every woman should regularly check her breasts and every year have a test for cancer, and in that way, he said, you'll never die of cancer. How about you? I'm to go back next summer for a complete checkup before we decide to have another baby. A good system. We took Mark to church yesterday, went in the big church for a service first. I forgot to put in my envelopes and on the way home remembered. The girl who was driving turned around and knocked down a man's mailbox, so John and her husband had to go back and put up a new post. John saw him drive off and ran down the road, "Daddy!" and cried for about half an hour, a real daddy's boy. Tonight he cried all during his bath for his daddy. After the weekends I say, Well, Mark, you're stuck with your mother until Friday." He does like me sometimes, though, and can be very, very affectionate. He's awfully cute. Mark reminds me of Bud sometimes. When he has on long sleeves, he hates to change to short sleeves and vice versa. And if you cut his toast after he has it, it's spoiled. I guess it's just the age, as so many say their kids do the same things. One little boy said, "You buttered the wrong side." The folks are taking us to Stouffer's to dinner after Pamela's christening. That will be nice and save me a lot of work. It's hard to believe she's almost 3 months old. John said we must have been busy, as the summer sure went fast. He got a good write-up in the newspaper tonight for his art show. Anything he tackles, he makes a good job of it. Ann Duff's brother is being married Saturday morning. I hope we can make it. I made a graham wafer cake, and it went in 1 day, a good cake. Pamela is really gooing and gurgling now. Mark thinks it's funny and tries to make the same faces she does. We'll try to get some better snaps, as she's really much cuter than those snaps I sent. We'll see when the camera is fixed. The folks want to take some on her christening day. Mark thinks red and stripes are pretty, and they were for him, so I guess I shouldn't talk at all. Saturday I was kneeling defrosting the refrigerator. He came along and patted my shoulder, black blouse, and said, "Pretty." Patted my hair, "Pretty." It certainly is sweet. I was telling John's mother about Aunt Celia's death and how young and pretty she was. She said, "Your mother is very pretty and has such lovely blue eyes." I must say good night. I love you. Love, John, Ruth, Mark, and Pamela. To be continued. Well, that concludes today's presentation. Good luck to you with your efforts in family history. If this interests you, finding, preserving, and sharing old letters, diaries, photographs, family movies, and videos, and interviewing elderly relatives while they're alive, you might consider checking out our website, Adventures in History, with Peter J. Ray at peterjray.com. So far, we've made 620 history videos in 7 areas: world history, American history, book reviews, poetic tours, Cleveland baseball, family history, and autobiography. There's a donate button. You might consider making a donation so we can continue making these videos. We also have a podcast you might consider checking out, Adventures in History. If you live in Metro Manila, Philippines, and are looking for a high school, you might consider Res Celeste Educational Center, located in San Juan, Metro Manila. At Res Celeste, we specialize in helping young people who have had difficulty in the larger traditional high schools. And the website is resceleste.education, RESALEST. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.